This is John Cola with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and this is going to be one like no other. I'm going to actually do a recipe demo today, and what we're going to make is a green smoothie. And this is just not any old green smoothie. We're going to make a delicious, easy to make green smoothie using only 3 ingredients. That's right, 3 ingredients. Many people that make green smoothies may put, everything but the kitchen sink in, but I found always simplest is best. So let's go ahead and actually explain what a green smoothie is, and then I'll share with you guys actually the ingredients I'm going to use, and then I'll actually show you guys how to make this delicious green smoothie. So first off, what is a green smoothie? Well, there's 2 words in it, green and then smoothie. So if you normally think smoothie, you think fruit smoothie, and fruit smoothie would be rich in fruits and have a lot of fruits in there. People don't normally think of a green smoothie. What a green smoothie is, it's what Victoria Botenko came up with because she found out that many people into raw foods are not eating enough leafy green vegetables. So she came up with a way to actually make a smoothie taste good, but also include some of the dark leafy green vegetables that most people are not eating nearly enough of. I personally believe that we should eat about 2 pounds of leafy green vegetables a day. So why leafy greens and why greens? Well, greens are one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. I'm actually here in my garden today, and I have all these beautiful tree collards growing behind me. We could use the tree collards in my green smoothie. You could actually use any old leafy green in your green smoothie, whether it's, tree collards from your garden, some kale, or other leafy greens, even things like parsley, cilantro. In my opinion, I consider those guys leafy greens. So you could use anything, but what I'm going to use today is actually these guys. These make your green smoothie actually taste better and actually makes it really easy to make. So what I like to use is the Earthbound organic brand pre-washed, pre-bagged baby leafy greens. Now, why baby leafy greens instead of big leaves of kale or tree collards? Well, the baby leafy greens, number 1, they're more tender. Number 2, they taste a lot sweeter than the big leafy greens, like the big pieces of kale or big tree collards. Although my tree collards are sweet for other reasons, because I'm growing them in the rock dust trace minerals and because it's the cooler season and they get sweeter in the winter time. But nonetheless, if you don't have your own tree collards to make a green smoothie out of, the pre-bagged baby leafy greens are definitely the best. And the one I like the most is actually this one right here. This is actually called Power Greens. Yeah, because you got the power. This Power Green mix simply has things like organic spinach, red and green chard, organic baby kale. So these plants are some of the most nutrient dense foods on the earth. What does nutrient dense mean? That means it has a lot of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals without having a whole lot of calories. They're gonna basically expand your weight. We want to be eating nutrient dense foods instead of nutrient poor foods with a lot of calories. So think of fast food, junk food as foods that have a lot of calories but not a lot of nutrition. So the leafy greens will definitely feed your body, and definitely one excellent way to keep the weight off or to lose weight if you need to, but also ensure that you're going to be as healthy as possible. So this is my favorite one because it's a mix of the kale and the chard and the spinach. But if you can't get this one, and this one is actually 12 ounces, you could easily do something like this. This is just the Earthbound Farm baby spinach. This is a 1 pound pack. Now, the warehouse club stores like the Costco and the Sam's Club normally sell this for the cheapest price you could find. If you can't find this stuff, you could find something like this. This is just the Earthbound 5 ounces, and if you're using the 5 ounce ones, I definitely would at least do 2 of them or 3. What you're going to learn in my green smoothies is I like to put a lot of leafy greens, like just putting 1 bag. That's not enough leafy greens. That's only 5 ounces. That's like nothing. I've mentally put 10 ounces. What I'm going to put today is a 12 ounce, this 1 whole bag here. Or, sometimes I might even put 1 whole pound of leafy greens in. And I can get away with this because when blending these guys up, number 1, they're baby greens, so they're more tender and more tasty. And number 2, I'm going to add some fruit to make it actually taste good. So even kids, if they don't like eating their greens, or your siblings or your parents or your husband or wife, you add enough fruits and it'll taste good. So anyways, next let's go ahead and get into the exact recipe that I'm going to make today. So let's see, we're going to go ahead and put these guys aside because we're not using these guys. But the 3 ingredients that we are using today is very simple. Number 1, we're going to use a young Thai coconut. This is a young coconut, not a regular coconut. So the water in here is really sweet, has a nice sweet flavor, Plus, it has a thin jelly meat. So this jelly meat will add a layer of fat, which will actually make the smoothie taste really good. Many people in their green smoothies may just add, like filtered water or something. I like to add real foods to my green smoothie. So thus the coconut. Also, the coconuts are really rich in electrolytes, which actually are, some of the trace minerals that are really good for us. And they also have plant cytokines, which in my opinion, in my research, are anti-aging. The second ingredient we're going to use, like I talked about, are the leafy greens. You can't forget about the leafy greens in a green smoothie. Once again, this is the Power Greens Organic, 12 ounces here. And finally, we got some ripe bananas. So these guys are about as ripe as I'd like them, when they're spotted up, and I have a few other ones that aren't quite as ripe. And we're going to add 6 bananas to this smoothie. So, feel free to, add 4 or add, 6, 7, 8, as many as you need to make it taste good. I find, that I got all these bananas going ripe. I'm going to use them. Plus, I like a nice, rich smoothie that tastes nice and good. The bananas is where you're going to get the sweetness and also the majority of the calories, because there's not a lot of calories in the leafy greens, but you're going to get the majority of the nutrition in this green smoothie from the leafy greens. So another thing you'll need besides the ingredients are a blender. So I recommend a high power blender such as a Vitamix or a Blendtec. Today I'm actually using an Omni Blend V, which is kind of like, I don't know, between a Vitamix and Blendtec knockoff, and it's not quite as powerful. I'm still in the testing stages of this guy, and soon enough I'll know if it's a good one or not to recommend to others. It's a pretty affordable price, but the jury's out thus far. But I'm going to use it today to show you guys actually how it works and actually see the texture of the smoothie. And that's the big deal about making a green smoothie. You want to break it down as much as possible, especially these leafy greens, especially if you're not chewing your food well when you are eating it. That's the benefit of the smoothie. It basically breaks down all the hard fibrous cell walls so that we can extract the nutrition out of it. So if you have just a $25 department store blender, it's not really going to do an adequate job to really fractionate all the fibrous cell walls. So that's why I recommend at present time the best blender is the Vitamix Turbo Blend VS. That stands for variable speed, and that's going to do the best job at breaking down your leafy greens to make a green smoothie or any other raw foods recipe that you may make. So without further ado, let's go ahead and make this smoothie. The first thing, we're going to go ahead and take the blender top off. Next thing, we're going to take our coconut, and we're going to take a standard chef's knife. Many people may not know how to get into one of these guys, and I have videos on that on YouTube as well. I've even opened these guys with butter knives, so don't be scared of these. They are really easy to get open, and the way I'm going to show you right now is the safest way. Just have a standard 6-inch chef's knife, put the coconut on the side, and I'm basically just kind of sawing off the outer husk all the way down to the hard nut. So once we got the husk all off, you can see there we got the nut exposed here, and what you're going to notice is that there's 3 veins, and one of the veins separates like half the nut. The other 2 veins only separate 1/4. We're going to go to the side that's basically exposes 1/2 of the nut. We're going to take our knife point, and we're going to go down from the peak of the coconut, maybe down about 1 inch, and stick our knife in at this direction like that. Not straight up and down and not at an angle, but kind of just like that. I'm going to raise my hand to the end of the knife, and what we're going to do is we're going to just simply tap. And that's going to tap the knife in there. As you can see, it could stay there. We're going to go ahead and rotate this down to the level of the table, and then like you're riding a motorcycle, vroom, vroom, vroom. And then, basically what's going to happen is the top's going to simply pop off. Easier than opening a Coke can. Well, those old-fashioned Coke cans anyways. Then we're going to take our coconut, and it's very important not to lose any of the delicious water. That's the most beneficial aspect of the coconut. And we're going to dump that in the blender right quick without losing too much. Some of the ways you open coconuts is with hacking and whatnot, and the water will spray all over. And this way I find you could preserve and save the most water to go in your smoothie, because that's where it should be going and not on your table. Once we got the water in there, the next ingredient we're going to use is actually the coconut meat. This will add a little bit of fat and a nice flavor to your green smoothie. Gonna go ahead and just scoop this out with a Sanders spoon, and that's another reason why I like to open the coconuts like I do. When you open it this way, you have a nice large hole to get a spoon in there so you can scoop out all the delicious meat. So we pretty much got all this meat scooped, and we're just gonna go ahead and dump that in to the smoothie. So after we got all the coconut meat in there, the next thing to add are the leafy greens. Silly. So we got the Power Greens. Once again, we're going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to add this to the blender. But the thing you want to remember is that you don't want to add all this stuff to the blender at once, especially if you have a weaker power blender. If you add all this at once, it's not going to blend too well. So what I like to do is blend in stages. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple handfuls of this stuff now, put it right in the blender. I'll probably take about half of it, which is about 6 ounces worth. Right in the blender, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the blender top on, and we're going to just let the blender blend for about 5 seconds. And, you know, it just blended, and that's all I needed. It basically got it, you know, into a liquid state. You know, once I do this pre-blend, that makes adding the other leafy greens better, because if you just add it all at once, it may not blend unless you have a tamper, and most blenders actually don't have a tamper, unless you're using the Vitamix. So now we're going to add the other half of the leafy greens here. All right, and here's all our leafy greens going into the blender. This is the Power Greens mix. And put the blender top on, and once again, we're going to go ahead and spin this up. All right, so now that we got the leafy greens broken down in a nice mixture, and you can't see any leafy greens left, and the leafy greens are all broken up, because that's the most important thing. I don't like green smoothies that are chunky, and you know, they don't digest optimally. We got it all broken down, and now we're going to add the bananas last. And I do this for a very important reason. You know, as you know, bananas actually oxidize fairly fast. They'll actually turn brown, and the longer you blend anything in the blender, the more oxidation that's happening to the food that's inside the blender. People don't understand that blenders run at incredibly high speeds, you know, 27,000 RPMs, that's revolutions per minute. It's going really fast. With every revolution, it's bringing in a vortex, which is basically making the blender work to blend up and break up the food you put in there. But at the same time, it's actually adding oxygen and imparting oxygen into your mixture. And when it does this, add oxygen, it causes more oxidation of the food that you're putting in there. So we want to eat foods that are minimally oxidized. So, you know, in my opinion, it's far better to juice than blend, because you're going to have less oxidation. Of course, the juicer removes the fiber and the blender keeps it. So there's pros and cons of both juicing and blending. Be sure to check my other videos on YouTube, where I have actually a really good in-detail video where I go over the differences between juicing and blending in detail, so that you can learn more which may be the best for you. So we're adding the 4th banana now. And I like to use the bananas for my green smoothies, especially because bananas are relatively inexpensive. They're probably one of the most inexpensive fruits that is available, and they're available year-round. These guys happen to be organic bananas, and these were picked up at a local supermarket for 69 cents a pound. So, you know, making a green smoothie can be very inexpensive. The coconut was about $1, and actually I got those leafy greens, believe it or not, for about $1 also. Normally those leafy greens are, I don't know, about $3, $4 package. So here's 5 bananas, and now we're going to put in the last banana. And that's it. That's our last banana. And now what we're going to do, instead of just, you know, cranking the blender on high, we're going to actually blend the blender up. A better method than just putting on high, because once again, if you put it on high, you're oxidizing it. So we're going to pulse blend this mixture, because the leafy greens take a lot more power to break them up, but the bananas are so soft it doesn't take a lot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the pulse blend technique. We're going to hold down the pulse button and just pulse blend it, and just let it blend for a second and let go. And just doing this a handful of times, it'll actually get the bananas blend up to a nice consistency without you having to run it and actually overblend your mixture, because once again, overblending will cause more oxidation, which lowers the nutrition in the food, and I want you guys to have the maximum level of nutrition in all the food you eat. Actually, that's one reason why you guys should actually grow your own greens. And I'll have to give a plug for my other YouTube channel if you don't know about it. It's actually called growingyourgreens.com, where I teach you guys how to grow your own greens at home, because homegrown food is the best food by far over anything money can buy. All right, well, that's it for our smoothie. Let's go ahead and take this off, and man, this is a nice, rich, dark green color. Gonna go ahead and taste that for you guys. Rich and delicious and so good. It reminds me of like a shamrock shake without the mint. So if you want to make the shamrock shake, add a few mint leaves to this, and that'll be so delicious. So I hope you guys enjoyed this demonstration on how to make a quick and simple and actually very tasty green smoothie. Once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com, We'll see you next time, and remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're the best.